Hello again and welcome to the Citiuation. Coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Sammi. Wiafe. On Citiuation, as you're aware, we talk politics and everything has to do with politics in this country. We're still going with the build-up of the NPP and its internal election. The party will somewhere next week, the 15th to the 16th of August 2026, hold its regional elections to elect new regional officers to run the affairs of the party in the regions for the next 4 years. Today on the Citiuation, we have one individual who wants to be the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the opposition new Patriotic Party. What does he bring to the table? What magic will he do to ensure that the NPP wins the Greater Accra region on the back of the abysmal performance of the party in the region in the last election? My name is Sammi Wiafe, and I always do this with my friend and brother, Fred Tete Djabanor.
The Community Tracker is a parliamentary accountability project, a collaborative initiative between Channel 1 TV and the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Serving as an evidence-based project, Community Tracker documents and assesses development projects across constituencies in Ghana. The initiative includes the development of an attractive database map that identifies and tracks infrastructure projects, making information publicly available and promoting greater accountability. The program empowers communities to identify their priority development needs, monitor project implementations, and hold duty bearers accountable for the delivery of public services. It provides visibility for members of parliament who are delivering tangible development outcomes in their constituencies. Through the tracking and documentation of constituency-level projects, the program seeks to strengthen accountability in public infrastructure delivery while giving communities a meaningful voice in evaluating the impact of development interventions. The Community Tracker airs on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. with repeat broadcasts on Tuesdays 11 a.m. and Saturdays 5:30 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
The entries are in and the marking has officially begun. Who will make it to level 2 of the Literacy Challenge 2026? Listen out for randomly selected entries on Branch in the City and the Traffic Avenue on 97.3 City FM and on Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. The top 100 contestants from across Ghana's 16 regions will be announced on Tuesday, 11th August 2026. Next up is level 2, the aptitude test. The top 100 contestants from across Ghana to make it to the next round shall take part in a written aptitude test on Sunday, 16th August 2026 at 12:30 p.m. at the British Council, Accra. Stay tuned, the journey continues. The Literacy Challenge 2026 is powered by City FM with support from Channel 1 TV, and it's proudly sponsored by Prospectus Ghana Limited, SIC Insurance, Advocate Publishing, Tema Oil Refinery, and Delhi Group. Were you at the 2026 edition of the Back to Your Village Food Festival? If not, then join us in reliving the entire festival through the Back to Your Village Food Festival playbacks, from the food to the music and to the cultural displays. We will take you back to your village, be it a Kan, in the south, or in the northern parts of Ghana. Experience it all over again with us this August by catching all the playbacks right here on Channel 1 TV. And if you missed the announcement the last time, make sure you look sharp next time. The 2026 edition of the Back to Your Village Food Festival was sponsored by EcoBank, Gino, Didi Chateau, Munchie Biscuits, Everpack, National Petroleum Authority, and supported by Jibu Water and Trillium Industrial Company Limited.
I'm made in Ghana, you can take me to London.
This is the Upside Out Show. This is the Upside Out Show. This is the Upside Out Show. Your favorite lifestyle show on TV. From exclusive interviews with your favorite personalities.
The child in me sometimes is quite predominant.
So hold on.
I hope you understand. People misinterpret that. I'm a very calm person.
Okay. What's been keeping you busy now?
Staying out of trouble, that's keeping me busy.
So behind the scenes secrets that you haven't seen or heard anywhere else. Aha! Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Here on the Upside Down Show is where it all happens. Today, people don't care about morals, people don't care about intentions, people don't care about anything. Your money can buy you any and everything.
But you will not last.
Really?
No, you will not last.
But the person see the dead body.
I thought we'll catch you.
You people.
Catch the Upside Down Show every Sunday at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV. Ghana is built on stories. The dreams we chase, the challenges we face, and the change we demand. At Channel 1 TV, we bring these stories to light with truth, fairness, and courage. We listen, we question, we amplify. Because when your story is told, change begins. Channel 1 TV.
Yeah, welcome back. This is The Citiuation, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. On Citiuation, we talk politics, and the focus today is on the new Patriotic Party, the NPP. The party is reorganizing and re-strategizing to see if it can win the 2028 general election. But the party says it needs to organize internally to rebuild the party and re-strategize for the next election. The Greater Accra region is the focus today on the show. The party lost heavily in the last election. A number of factors can be attributed to that. But an individual who believes that he can change the fortunes of the NPP in the Greater Accra region is our guest today on The Citiuation. He wants to be the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, the NPP, in the Greater Accra region, a region considered to be a swing region as far as Ghana's elections are concerned. Before we bring our guests on today's show, we'll run you through some of the political issues happening in Ghana today. The new Patriotic Party, again, the NPP, organized a demonstration today saying that the John Dramani Mahama government is embarking on what they describe as unhealthy democratic practices in this country. And they demonstrated against that practice. Also, the fallen eight Ghanaians died a year ago in that disaster in somewhere in Obuasi. Today, the nation remembered these 8 individuals, including Dr. Edward Omaneboama, former defense minister, and 7 others. My name is Sammi Wiafe, and Djabanor, as always, is here with us to discuss the issues I will put before you. Friend, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sammi?
I'm well, thank you. 1 year down the line.
Yes, 1
The
year.
nation is still mourning.
We'll mourn for a long time. This morning, we brought you the memorial service and a very solemn service, a remembrance service. And you could tell that the incident is still fresh on the minds of a lot of people. You could see from the demeanor of a lot of the people over there, from the various people we spoke to, on how they still remember these people, these fallen heroes of ours. So you have Dr. Omaneboama, who was defense minister, and because this is more political, was director of elections of the NDC. You have Dr. Murtala Mohammed, who was an MP for Tamale Central. So indeed, it's still a very difficult moment for the country. It's a difficult moment for the NDC as a party. It's a difficult moment for the families of these people. We pray and we hope that as the years go by, we may find some peace and also ensure that these people's legacy do not just go down the drain. The fight against Galamsey should be taken by government, this time very hard, and ensure that we put a stop to this menace. Because these people were on their way to deal with Galamsey, and then they made their sudden death over there. It's a difficult moment, but I mean, as we always say, we will try moving on, we'll keep on moving on, but it's going to be a very difficult time, and that's what we find ourselves in. Whilst we are also talking about what's happening during the morning, in the morning, the NPP were at it again.
Yeah.
This time, they were on the streets to protest, and like you mentioned, they are protesting against what they call the arbitrary arrest, the
democracy under attack.
They said it's democracy under attack, but arbitrary arrest. They are protesting against the acquittal of Sedina Hamaklo. They are saying that they believe that there's no justice, there's no fairness within the judicial system as we speak, and all these are putting our democracy in a very dangerous position and under attack, as they'll say it. So they're on the streets protesting. They went to the Supreme Court. They ended up at the Flagstaff House, or the Jubilee House as it's now called, and to present a petition to the presidential staffers. There was a staffer there who accepted and took this particular petition presented by the minority leader himself. So it's been a busy day in the morning where people were mourning, and later on in the morning where others were also unhappy and protesting. So it's been a very busy day. But let's take a listen to, or let's watch the minority leader and some of the concerns he raised when the party went to present the petition to the presidency.
Sincere apologies for that break in the video. They will bring that video to you subsequently. But then, as Fred was saying, they went to the Jubilee House, presented a petition to the presidency on a number of issues they have lined up where they believe that is unhealthy practice when it comes to democracy in this country. So, Fred, they presented. So, after this demonstration, that's it, right?
Yes, for now.
Yeah.
When you listen to the national organizer during the last press conference, he indicated that there will be a nationwide demonstration, but this is a major one in Accra. They are hoping to move to other regions to make their concerns known and to draw the attention of the public, of Ghanaians, to what they believe is happening and need to be stopped. So yes, for now, this is it, but they are hoping to go across the country to draw the attention of the people.
Fred, let's just stay with the NPP and talk to the gentleman who wants to become the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. Joining us will be Emmanuel Clottey. He wants to be the Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. Ima, you can join us. The NDC is also having some internal issues, so we'll discuss that one else. Ima, thank you very much for coming.
Most welcome.
Thank you for showing up.
Thank you very much.
Were you at the demonstration?
Yes, I was.
You were?
I was. I had to be.
It was important for you to be there?
It was a civil action that I believe every Ghanaian should have been there. I believe a lot more would have wanted to be there, but for the fact that they had to attend to other duties. So we did it on their behalf.
You think so?
This is democracy. We even did it for the NDC.
Why?
Because they need a democracy more than we do.
Explain.
Because when power changes hands, they would expect us to treat them in a civil manner by the dictates of the law and not use the high-handedness of the law to deal drastically with a section of society, while a section of the society believes have said they are above the law.
Is the law not working? Is it not the law that is working? The law that is being enforced?
Well, the law is selectively working. So you can pick and choose the way you want the law to behave. Because the president is also clothed with the rights to grant amnesty to someone. So the president can decide to grant an amnesty to one who has been rightfully convicted and leave the other to suffer in jail. It is still the law, but would that be fair? No. That's the reason why we are calling for a non-selective application of the law.
Emmanuel, people say you are running away from accountability. You just handed over power about a year ago. There are people within your party, officials who served in government, and per investigations, they find out that, look, there are some things which have happened where these people need to be put before the court for the court to determine whether they are guilty or not of the allegations which have been leveled against them. And you go on the street and say, oh, it's selective justice. Aren't you running away from accountability?
Okay, let me set your concerns in perspective. I will not stand for any Ghanaian, whether in the NPP or in the NDC, who has looted state coffers. Every Ghanaian must be accountable. So discrimination is when in the first 6 months of your government, you decide to file a nolle prosequi to withdraw almost every high-profile case which involves a loss of a lot of the taxpayers' funds, only to quickly begin a consistent persecution on the opposition party. Then I would say it's discriminatory. But if any NPP member, rightfully so, has squandered any public funds, that person must be held accountable. But you have to do it in a civil and a right manner so that the populace will feel that you're being just. But when you put your people behind quietly and say that you are not interested in that case, when the court of competent jurisdiction has not gone through the case to its end to find out that they did right or did wrong, but you said, I'm not continuing again, then on the other hand, you prosecute the opposition. You can't tell me that is fairness.
This is the first time the Attorney General has filed a nolle prosequi. During your tenure, the Attorney General filed a number of nolle prosequis in the case to end cases. Was that also politically motivated?
I don't want to balance. I may not have all the full facts in mind, but at least I can remember clearly that there has been over 5 clear, high-profile cases which most former NDC appointees were facing, which was consistently withdrawn from the court. It's not trying to balance the equation. But if it was wrong then, it should be wrong now. So we must be concerned when the taxpayers' money is involved. We need to be holding people accountable.
If it was wrong then, why didn't you stand up then?
That's what I'm saying. I'm unable to speak to the data as happened previously. If I had the facts before me, I could speak to it. For all you know, maybe you are conjecturing that there were some nolle prosequis that were filed. But I bet you if I ask you to mention some critical ones, you may not find facts.
Let's talk about what you have data on, which is the Greater Accra region. Your party in the last election lost miserably in the region. You served in the region before what you are aspiring to be now. What went wrong in the Accra region that you want to cure as the regional secretary?
I'll start with strategy. I think we lacked strategy going into the 2024 elections. Certainly, there were a few national challenges that went against us, we understand. We took certain bold decisions to do the financial sector cleanup and also to do the debt restructuring, which was necessary at the time, which could have led to the collapse of the economy, which would have been a bigger challenge to the whole economy. And we took that bitter pill. And what justifies that action is that now that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the president, he has not reversed that decision. If it was that wrong and inimical to the well-being of the Ghanaian economy, he would have reversed it and paid those people's monies back to them. But the fact that he is enjoying the benefits of that action that was taken then tells you that it was necessary for the health of the economy. We stored a lot of gold in Bank of Ghana. As we speak now, the majority in Parliament is blocking every effort to bring accountability to the floor of Parliament to explain the reason why about half of the gold reserves are gone without any explanation to the Ghanaian people. Now I speak to the Greater Accra issues. I feel that there were certain things that we were able to do in the 2016 build up to the 2016 election quite consistently and targeted to what we expect the outcome of the elections to be. But unfortunately, we weren't able to implement most of them in subsequent elections. So in the course of my campaign, I've engaged a couple of the delegates and I've mentioned some of the strategies I'm bringing on board. Because to be the regional secretary is not to be the organizer. To be the regional secretary is not to be the chairman. So not to rub shoulders with people without going into the election with a clear strategy as to how you expect the outcome to be. So I'm going to focus on some of these things and to make sure that the various wings of the party are delivering as they ought to.
Let's give us 2 of these strategies.
Well, I will...
Not to put your strategy ahead for your opponent.
Exactly.
But it's just 2, not go into detail.
Exactly.
What are these 2?
To mention it in broad terms, I have a strategy for the youth wing, the women's wing, and also our Nasara wing. Well, the women's wing, I've mentioned some strategic ideas to them, which they've loved it so much, so that by the time we end, we are leaving no woman behind or no lady behind in that sense. And also in the youth front, to be paying attention to how we do youth mobilization in recent times, because election has become a bit more scientific than it used to be. We shouldn't leave anyone behind. We should be able to carry everyone around. And you can check that the generation gap leaves the thought pattern in the minds of our people sometimes, should I say, erroneous to a different generation. For instance, the Gen Alphas think differently, the Gen Zs think differently, and the millennials also have a different thought of their own. We need to be able to pay attention to these various strata of psychological differences to be able to sell our message and also convince our electorates far better. Because, I mean, we can tell beyond all reasonable doubts that Ghanaians are beginning to see that the promises of this government when they were in opposition is just a mirage of what is happening now. I mean, previously you could see fuel prices rising, sky hiking, and there was a lot of hue and cry in the media space. Now, fuel prices are rising, but there's not much talk. We understand. It takes some time before the anger of Ghanaians build up. And when it gets to the threshold, Ghanaians always make the decision. It happened against us. We take it in good faith. We'll go back, correct ourselves, and come back again. But certainly, what this government is implementing or achieving is not what they promised Ghanaians. When you go to the market today, you check the price of just tomatoes. It tells you that we are not at the right place. People
but tomato
can't shout.
is a seasonal crop, so you can't really say it happened under your regime. Tomato is a seasonal crop. It has a time it's very expensive. It has a time it becomes so expensive. As of now, it's expensive. You can get one for 10 cedis. It gets to a time where it's very cheap. You can get 5 for 10 cedi. So you can't say because of economic challenges, we're having that situation when it comes to tomato.
Okay, so it's been expensive for a long period of time. I just used an example, but it's been expensive for a long period of time. The prices may oscillate, certainly, as is for fuel. But if you check the general trend of the price of food crops in the market now, it's certainly not better than it used to be.
Mano, you were director of research, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right.
Of the Greater Accra region.
Once upon a time.
Yes, and before the election, am I
Not this election. Before just after the 2020 elections, I handed over.
Just
but I
after.
wasn't for the 2024 elections.
You weren't for the
I
2024.
worked prior to the 2016 elections, then prior to the 2020 elections.
So what was your role in the 2024 elections?
So in the 2024 elections, well, unfortunately, because I contested the incumbents, I didn't have too much job to do in Greater Accra. So the National Party also found some good in me, and I was the trainer of trainers for all our polling agents in the OT region. So that's where I was assigned as a national trainer.
Your party started going down in the Greater Accra region in 2020.
Yes.
Not in 2024.
I understand.
2024 ended everything for you.
Sure.
But the number of seats you had prior to 2020 in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, you had about 21 seats.
Yes.
It dropped down to like 14
Yeah.
in 2020.
Yes.
At the time you're director of research,
Yes.
you have spent a lot of your time doing research for the party.
Yes.
Looking at what you saw and comparing it now, this is internal, not external.
Yes.
What would you say is the major factor of the Greater Accra losing these much, that number of seats or those number of seats from 2020 to 2024? Because outside presidential elections, in parliamentary, you performed very abysmal. What caused that issue? From a research standpoint, someone who has been engaged in research for the party in the Greater Accra region since 2020 till now, what is the cause of your parliamentary drop from 2020 to 2024?
Okay. Unfortunately, there are some of the details I can't speak on Open TV. Understand me for that. But I'll try to broaden the scope. I was there before the 2016 elections, and I know the processes and the strategies we went through to be able to have specific targets per constituency, to be able to achieve 21 seats in Greater Accra. It wasn't wishful thinking. It was setting specific strategic steps that we took. These steps did not happen in 2020. So there was a drop of 7 seats. I certainly cried as loud as I could. But when you are not in charge, there's little you can be able to achieve.
But you can advise.
Of course I did. And I would have
And your
wished...
advice were not taken?
Oh, I mean, when you are not in charge, you are not in charge. So as a matter of fact, I kept crying out that 2020 elections, let us do a postmortem on what went wrong so we can be able to devise strategies to cure them from reoccurring before the 2024 elections, so that you go into the 2024 elections with clear strategies. Well, that did not happen. As I speak to you now, we've gone past the 2024 elections. We're in 2026, 2 years down the lane, and there has not been any concerted, detailed research finding to show why each constituency went the way it did in the 2024 elections. Certainly, if you want to win elections in 2028, and it is 2 years, almost 2 years getting into the next elections, you should have done this work by now. These are one of the reasons why I felt that we should be a bit more scientific. Once upon a time, I worked with Honorable Mohammed Ajesowa, former mayor of Accra. Then he was the regional secretary. We started working on these things just after the 2012-2013 election petition. That was when we started. We started doing a lot of modeling, a lot of SWOT analysis here and there on both sides, the strengths of the party in the various constituencies. So going into the elections, we knew the outcome we were expecting, and several other interventions that we put in there strategically that I can't be able to mention in the open. So if some of those strategies were deployed in the next elections and things did not go well, you can tell that, well, then you may have to tweak that strategy. But if you go into that election without some of these concerted steps that we took and things go the way it goes, then you become concerned. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why I decided to contest for regional secretary 4 years ago. And I kept hammering on some of these issues that there are certain things that we need to do. If we don't do them, we are going to get the results we are getting. Unfortunately, we didn't do them. And Gama will say, because some of the things I spoke about, 2024, it's happened clear and square. Because you can't keep doing the same things and expecting different results. So I've started going around in my campaign, and when I get to the delegates, I tell them the specific detailed strategies I have for every wing of the party and every operational arm of the party under the regional secretariat. Because the regional chairman is like the father of the region. The regional secretary is the strategist of the region, and he's the director of operations at the region. That is how come in our party structure, the youth wing, the women's wing, the NASA wing, they all under the organizational team wing, which works under the regional secretary. The same way you have research and elections, communications, also working under the regional secretariat. So the regional secretary is like the operational figurehead of the party. So I tell them that when they make Emmanuel Clottey the regional secretary, I'm going to be that skillful midfield player that makes sure he distributes the passes to every single wing of the party to function. Because the youth must function on their own. The organizational wing must function. Communication must deliver. He heard a lot of hue and cry, and we are not communicating and blah, 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 blah. We must come with different strategies. If you feel that the mass media is not giving much verve to your communication, then you must re-strategize and find another way to be able to reach the electorates. Research and elections, that's my field. I'm not going to take decisions as a regional secretary without paying attention to the facts, the figures, and the data. Because I tell them that I have a perfect understanding of the issues. Once upon a time, we were 1.2 million votes in Greater Accra, and we won the elections in Greater Accra. As I speak to you now, we are falling over 600,000 votes down to just about 600,000, while the NDC was winning with about 1.2 million in Greater Accra. That is a serious problem. That is not a situation where you continue with the same old way you do things. So I've spoken to most of the delegates, and they've bought into my idea that we'll have to do things differently if we expect to get different results.
Building up on Fred's points on the parliamentary seat, is it that in 2024, the NPP fielded candidates who were considered weak in these constituency, reason you lost majority of them?
So to also be humble in my answer, I can't tell you I have a scientific proof of each and every constituency what exactly happened. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why I mentioned earlier in my submission that by now there should have been a detailed inquest into the happenings of every single constituency. There could be the broad overview outlook. For instance, the Michael Quay committee actually did an inquest into the reason why we lost the 2024 elections. But they were looking at the national overview. So they will certainly engage regional parties here and there and listen to what the general populace are also bringing up front. But they can't be able to go into detailed inquest in every single constituency to know the local dynamics in there. That should be the work of the regional party. That should be the work of the regional secretariat to be able to understand into details. It could be that it was the choice of candidate. It could also be that it was factionalism in the constituency. It could also be lack of planning or lack of strategy. It could also be that there were some misunderstandings on how to run operations on D-Day. All that comes to play. You know, elections is a very complex assignment. You could even do all the things right, and on D-Day, when you drop the ball, you realize you miss it. So there must be an end-to-end strategy for winning elections in Greater Accra. I have averted my mind to it since 2012 all the way till now, that I've been playing key and active roles in different facets in relation to elections. So I've averted my mind to all these things, and I've been telling my story very pristine to the delegates, and they understand the strategy I'm bringing on board. And most of them are tilting the way of Emmanuel Clottey as the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary.
You're still watching The Situation, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. Our guest today, Emmanuel Clottey. He wants to be the Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Ghana is built on stories. The dreams we chase, the challenges we face, and the change we demand. At Channel One TV, we bring these stories to light with truth, fairness, and courage. We listen, we question, we amplify. Because when your story is told, change begins. Channel One TV.
Yeah, welcome back. You're watching The Situation Room, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are doing NPP and their politics. The party is reorganizing, re-strategizing to win election 2028. The Greater Accra region is an important region for the NPP because in the last election, the party lost miserably in the Greater Accra region. An individual who wants to change the fortunes of the party in the region is our guest today on The Situation Room. Emmanuel Clottey wants to be the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the NPP. Fred, you asked me a question before we went on the break.
Yes, Emmanuel, there's a belief among some party members of yours that the current crop of leadership or people who occupy leadership positions in your party are, quote and unquote, very incompetent, looking at what they have done. Are you part of the group of people who believe that there's some sort of incompetence within the leadership of your party?
So that would mean the regional party?
Yes.
Okay. I would want to maybe qualify your question a bit. Very incompetent, I wouldn't want to go that way. But if you say incompetent, I will agree with you in a way. Because if there was not a display of incompetence to an extent, I would not be contesting to be the regional secretary. If I believe my regional secretary was delivering, I wouldn't put up myself to be the regional secretary. But I believe there's a lacuna in that sense of leadership that must be provided in strategy at the regional secretariat, leading operations into the elections, which I believe it is lacking. That's the reason why I'm putting myself forward.
You've contested this position before.
Yes, I have.
You came third, if I'm not wrong.
Second.
You came second in that particular election. There are people who say that, Emmanuel, you and some group of people within the party in the Greater Accra region were very bitter. So after you lost the election, you people decided to stay on the sidelines. So they mentioned the fact that people like you who supported the former mayor of Accra, who was then secretary of your party, after 2020, he was not appointed as AMA boss. He was not involved. He didn't get involved with party activities, mainly because people like you who were very loyal to him were all sidelined. So instead of giving yourselves up to support the party and help the party, you decided that for Greater Accra, because of what is happening, we'll stay back and see what will happen. Is that the case? Did you just step back to watch the people do what they were doing without giving any support or even offering yourself to be used by the party in the region?
Okay, that's not what happened. I mentioned to you earlier that at some point in time, I even wanted to be a constituency trainer. But the region did not assign me because I had contested the sitting regional secretary before. In fact, the former mayor was then part of the elections committee, and I was also part, going into the 2020 elections. There were some incidents that happened that got him to realize that, Charlie, the thing is not working. So maybe he was not playing that role in the 2024 election again, because the guy would use an adage that money you understand my point? So as the regional secretary, you're supposed to be leading in a certain way to be able to carry people along. And he didn't sit back. I didn't sit back. I was assigned as the national trainer to the OT region, which I did. In the build-up also to the elections, there were other roles, electoral operations-wise, that we did. I was also involved in the national monitoring of the ballot printing and stuff that happened as well. And also some of the EC's engagements here and there at the national level. Because I've closely worked with the National Elections Directorate for a good number of times, since 2012 all the way up to the 2024 elections. And Mayor Ajesowa happens to be the director of operations for our flag bearer, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. So he was even playing a higher role than what was being done at the regional level. But the point is that it is the direction, it is the strategy. I mean, when I move on my engagements with the delegates, I mean, it comes in clear. I mean, did you have any strategy going into the 2024 elections? Did the regional secretariat actually engage with you, the constituencies, to be able to appreciate the local dynamics, to be able to get a vision as to where you expect a target that you assigned to a constituency to achieve and so? And it was not available. So these are some of the issues I feel that, well, we must do things right, especially when we've done it before. So sometimes my dismay is that, you know, like the Japanese adage says, when something is entrusted into your care as a leader, if you're unable to add more to it, then maintain it the way it is. In that same light, when there is a system that is working and you inherit that system, you either maintain the system or you introduce a superior system. If you can't introduce a superior system, maintain that system for that system to deliver. But when you don't deploy that system and there is no alternative for optimum efficiency, then we dip from 21 seats to 14 seats. We continue almost the same way, lack of cohesion amongst the executive structure, a regional secretary rocking shoulders with the regional chairman, a regional secretary's inability to be able to coordinate the wings well for the organizational wing to be able to deliver for the party. And you go into the elections again, and 14 seats now dip down to 5 seats. It calls for worry. We cannot continue on such a trajectory. I give them a parable that if you're a good businessman, worked well, had 21 branches, left it with a manager, traveled abroad, came back after 4 years, 7 branches shut down, left with 14 branches, no explanation for that. They begged you, added more resources to it. You travel again, leaving the 14 branches with extra investment for the manager, come back after 4 years, and after 4 years, 9 extra branches are shut down, and you are left with 5 branches. Then the manager in charge tells you that put me in charge again and add other resources. Certainly you would never do that. There must be accountability for actions. Perhaps, maybe it was not even for incompetence. Perhaps, maybe the strategy you're using hasn't worked. That is the reason why there must be a change. I don't think there's any meaningful business venture, whether corporate or industrial or private, that you put a manager in charge for 8 years and a trajectory from 21 to 5 will be maintained to continue. No, there must be a change. Things must be done differently so we can get different results.
This is the second time you are contested the incumbent general secretary, right?
Regional secretary.
This is the second time. You contested Parker the first time.
Yes.
And this is going to be the second time.
Yes.
What makes you think you will be second time luckier and you can win this time round?
Because a lot of the delegates have realized that what I was saying 4 years ago was the truth. So they've appreciated my point. What I was telling them 4 years ago was that if we don't cause a change in the secretariat and the way we do things, it is going to be a downward trajectory. And that is what has happened. The first time, it was 7 seats lost. The second time, it was 9 seats lost. Once upon a time, I heard the incumbents blaming that, oh, it was because the regional research I had didn't help me to do the work well. I sat back. Now there's another research officer who he says is very competent and helps him to do the work. And he has lost 9 seats. And the me who worked with the former secretary before delivered 21 seats. You understand the trajectory? So that means that then the ingredients or the variable here is the regional secretariat. And we can all know and we can all tell that certain things that must be done are not done the right way. You serve with humility when you are in political office. Because in some of these assignments or roles, you don't pay. So when people open their hearts to want to serve the party with all humility, and you don't treat them with that dignity and that respect, you will be getting some of the results that we're getting in the 2024 elections. I come in with an assurance to do things differently. So if you check one of my traits or one of the things I amplify a lot, I say service with humility, because I realize that that has been one of the challenges amongst the regional rank and file or at the regional secretariat that is missing. Because when you serve in humility in politics, you are able to pull a lot of people around. Because so when people are coming in to use their resources and their might to be able to help, treat them with respect, treat them with dignity, so that you can be able to put a lot more around. They can be able to bring their ideas together. Then we can be able to chart a better trajectory.
Before Fred comes in, I've heard leading members of your party say that it is not every constituency you hold primaries, because they believe that some of these parliamentary primaries result in misgivings, grievances, and that goes to the election and affects the party. As someone who wants to be a regional secretary of the NPP in the Greater Accra region, you think your party should hold primaries in every constituency in the Greater Accra region?
So you see,
and on the back of you serving as director of someone who has done research before for the party in the region.
So this decision must be informed by research. I don't intend to come and impose any parliamentary candidate on any constituency. If we have done our due diligence in research in that constituency, had extensive engagements with the rank and file of the party in the constituency, have a better understanding of the SWOT analysis of the party in the constituency, and look at the targets that we are gauging going into the 2028 elections. If there is that consensus that there is a certain candidate who can be able to deliver that to us, and the constituency themselves believe that that is the trajectory they must go, why not? But we are not going to suppress any form of contest, because this is a democracy. You can't resist anyone from openly expressing the desire to also contest in the elections. So it must be case by case basis. There are some constituencies that at the end of the day, they themselves resolve that this person should go unopposed. And the person goes and the person wins. But one thing I also want to pay attention to when I become the regional secretary is to avoid some of these acrimonious contests, because it doesn't help us in any way. And just as you made the reference, you can see that there are some of the seats in the north that we lost, mostly because there were very acrimonious contests that went on in the primaries. There's a challenge that exists in Greater Accra as I speak to you. In fact, in the past 2 elections, it was only Okankwe South who were unable to complete their constituency elections before the regional conference because of legal issues. 4 years ago, another constituency came that close, but they were able to hold it, and all 34 went into the regional conference. As I speak to you now, there are still about 7 constituencies outstanding, and they are yet to hold their elections.
In Greater Accra?
In Greater Accra. And it's all because of some of these challenges. And this emanates from the regional secretariat. You understand my point? So I believe, and I'm saying it on the back of that don't manipulate. Don't meddle in affairs of constituencies. People know how to run their thing. We need to guide, help with strategy, stay on the focus, and make sure that we are doing this democracy holistically. So one person should not think he is smarter or more higher in IQ than
you feel that's what's happening now? There are executives in the region who are meddling in constituency issues.
Oh, Umbra, make your own investigation into some of these 7 constituencies and ask some of the parties involved. They will mention names to you. I will not mention this name here. But they will mention names to you that they feel that this person is behind, that person is behind. And it upsets me because I feel that the results that we attained in the 2024 elections in Greater Accra that affected the plight of our presidential candidate, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. On the back of that, we should have been handling things far better going into the 2028 elections, because we know, and it's not lost on me, that Greater Accra is the largest electoral region in the whole of the country. And since the 1992 elections, you win Greater Accra, you win the national election, with the exception of the 2020 elections. So we understand that this is the battleground. So you don't ruffle the nest in your battleground. You want to make sure things are very calm and you are going into the elections on a strong footing, not on acrimonious ways. Because when you overdrag or elongate the resolution of acrimonies in constituencies, especially some of which you might have lost the seat just in the 2024 elections, it doesn't augur well for the constituency. So, I mean, the National Party has waded into it, and thankfully, they are now able to resolve a couple of the issues in some of these constituencies. But I believe that we should be able to resolve quite a lot more going into the regional elections on the 15th of August, where, by God's grace, you will hear that I've become the Greater Accra Regional Secretary. And when I become, we will do some of these things right. We will do some of these things right.
So you have been director of research.
Yes.
You've engaged in a lot of research for the party. This is for education purposes. Can you tell me, what is the demography of Greater Accra? What is the dynamics in Greater Accra? And what are the demarcations?
Okay. There's a thesis question in 1 minute. So Greater Accra, let me say, it extends from Adan all the way to Botiano English Yamanfro. If I'll mention from the coastal lines, you are from Adan, you get to Sege, Ningo Pram Pram, Bonkatamanso, then you get to Tema East, you get to Tema West, then you get to Krowo, you get to Lejokuku, you get to Larade Kotopong, Klote Kole, you get to Odododiodo, you get to Ablekuma South, you get to Ablekuma West, you get to Botiano English Yamanfro. When you climb up that side, you get to Domia Braubom. You are now coming to Anyasu Otom, you are coming to Wejagbawe, you are going to Trouble, Amasaman. You can extend to from Shai Osudoku, come to Adenta, come to Medina, come to Ayaso West Wagon, Ayaso North, Ayaso East, Ayaso Central, Okankwe North, Okankwe Central, Okankwe South. You can turn around and now get to the Shaman area, and that is the demography of Greater Accra. And in fact, Shai Osudoku actually happens to have the largest landmass of Greater Accra. And you realize that they are bordered by, I think, about 5 or so constituencies, most of which are in the eastern region and also in the Volta region. So the vastness of their landmass is also an electoral challenge that we deal with. We have not won elections much, but we don't won elections at all in the Dangbe areas, the 5 Dangbe areas. But I tell my people that I'm coming with a strategy. Dangbe should get ready. We are coming into the Dangbe land. And I believe there are some good votes we can be able to harvest there. We understand where our strongholds are, Waterloos, and where we have to be able to secure our votes. And I studied the 2020 limited registration against the 2024 limited registration that was done. And I got to realize that the demographics, as you said, had changed. Because, for instance, a constituency like Bonkatamanso had a voter increase by over 50%. You have about Domiabra Obom increased by over 50%. You have Amasaman constituency increased by over 80%. So I studied it and realized that, well, there's a shift in dynamics. So what you think would have been the homogeneous settlement of, say, Ekponkatamanso might have been altered because of the drift of the population from the inner part of Accra. And you check all the other constituencies within the inner part of Accra and you realize that their votes have reduced bit. and all the ones in the periphery are actually increasing. Well, these are things we study as a research person, and that should inform you on strategy. So, for instance, if you are not winning Domia Braubum, which you believe had a certain settlement which always would tilt to a particular side, then suddenly you get to realize that the voter register has been altered by plus 50%. That tells you that the ingredient that was forming your Waterloo has been diluted one way or the other. It could be that diluted for the better, it could be it's been diluted for the worse.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to some of these things, electoral area by electoral area. Then that helps you to devise a strategy going into that particular constituency. Certainly, it's not lost on me that it's not every constituency that we can win in Greater Accra, but there are some constituencies I believe we can be able to win, and there are some that we can be able to increase our gains marginally. We can be able to affect the overall outcome of the general elections, because there's also the parliamentary side, but there's also the presidential votes, which is universal adult suffrage. We can be able to augment the presidential votes across the board. And I am bringing these concerted ideas to make sure that we don't go into the next elections without strategy. We are going to go into the elections knowing what we expect in every single constituency. And we are going to put every single executive of this party, both current and old, to be able to channel our energies into kicking this government out of power for us to come and continue the good works that we were doing before.
I mean, this, you've given us a really broad education about Greater Accra and how it stands. One difficult part for your party is the coastal areas when it comes to elections, and especially parliamentary, for the NPP. So you look at the coastal line, you seem not to perform so well within those areas. What's the reason, and how are you going to resolve that?
Okay. The reason that one how I'm going to solve that. Thankfully, well, I'm also a Gamman, an unrepentant Gamman, and I am with them. You see me amongst them quite much. So I've been able to study the psychology that informs the voter psychology in some of these places. Like you rightly said, certainly, from Madan all the way to Botian English Amanfro, we lost in the previous elections. I mean, it actually extended to some of the other regions.
You're able to win, but you're unable to maintain. You lost it in the next election.
Well,
Crowell can be a typical example.
Of course.
You won in 2016, but you lost it again.
We know some of the reasons why we lost some of those constituencies, and we are going to fix some of those things. So when I give hope to my people that we are going after those 21 seats back again, I know what I'm talking about. Because in some cases, we just have to put our house in order, and we can be able to get back at those seats again. Because if we won it before, we can win it again. And there are some other seats also that I am eyeing. We've not won it before, but I have muted a strategy which I believe can be able to cause a stir. Because I have the appreciation of the fact that we need to be able to garner more seats in Greater Accra to overturn this mighty minority, this super majority that the NDC has, that they are using to frustrate us in this country.
Are you prepared for the road ahead, physically, spiritually, financially, emotionally, and all the that comes with it?
So you can ask sentimentally and everything. I have, in fact, I'm very, very prepared. So as a matter of fact, when I campaign, I tell my people that I'm not just campaigning for you to vote for me. I'm actually also preparing the minds of the delegates for the work ahead. Because I don't know the pride in becoming the regional secretary only to go and fail when the team to work with has not been properly psyched and brought to that level where we are all on the same page to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, I believe, is a blessing to this country. One of my sleepless nights is to do everything possible I can to make sure he's the president of the Republic of Ghana. It motivates me every single day when I'm campaigning. That's the reason why I campaign beyond just soliciting for votes, but I bring the minds to the people of where we are as a party and where we need to be able to get to as a region to be able to put the NPP back on the winning pedestal.
Unity is one challenge your party has, and in your submissions, you made it known that there was a bit of friction between the chairman and the secretary. You said that secretary trying to rub shoulders with the chairman. That was one of your submission. You made that comment. How do you intend to unite the party in the Greater Accra region? And secondly, you've seen what is happening between your chairman and your secretary. Do you have any candidate you want to win the chairmanship race?
Yes, I have a candidate. because I'm a human being. If even the electoral commissioner votes, but will you know the party she votes for? No. Certainly, I'll vote for somebody if I have the votes. But unfortunately, I don't have
Let
votes
me
now.
catch you here. Your party has a choice between a younger generation and an
older
older
one.
generation. You are of a younger generation.
Yes.
Do you think that the older generation should be put aside for the younger generation?
I don't believe so. I believe that going into the 2028 elections, the delegates to be able to make the best choice in the interest of the party. I was almost going to speak Ghana. Noko yana ko nupa fio. Ni noko yana ke gbeke fio. Taflache. There is something you do with an elderly person, and there's something you also do with a younger person. So I believe that that wisdom or that knowledge by the dictates of the constitution of our party is not rested in Emmanuel Clottey to decide. It is rested in the collective decision of the numerous delegates across the constituencies, the Regional Council of Elders, Council of Patrons, National Council reps at the region, and also members of parliament, then the TESCON representatives of all the 46 TESCON institutions in Greater Accra, and also national officers who vote in the region. It is left with them, and also the TESCON coordinator for the region as well, to make that decision. What I hold paramount is that I have learned something that happened in the 8 years, and I can assure every single delegate in Greater Accra that should I become the regional secretary, the chairman that is called the regional chairman, I'm going to work with that chairman for us to be able to win power. Because I know my place, I know my work, I know what I am set to do as the regional secretary. It is not to become the chairman. So I will support the chairman to become the chairman, so that the chairman can support me to become the regional secretary, for us to collectively win the desires or achieve the goals that we're going to set for ourselves.
Emma, thank you for coming.
Most welcome, my
We
brother.
appreciate your time.
Grateful to you.
Emmanuel Clottey, he wants to be the next Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, the NPP. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of The Situation that came to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Sammi Wiafe, and I did it with Fred Djabanor. So we'll come your way again. May the good Lord be with us all.